Hello. Shall we, I know I'm dying. Should we go ahead and get things rolling?
Yeah. Dig in.
Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of BvG, Bear vs. Gorilla. I'm here joined by Scotty. Do you like when I call you Scotty or not? Scotty Gill, Scotty G, Scott
Gross.
the G.
Scott the G.
Oh, that sounds. I could add one more. I could add one more word into that to make it truly deplorable, but I won't.
But it would rhyme, which is all the worst. Just that much more terrible.
You're right. It would.
You just made me hate my name. How did you manage that in one sentence?
How did I not realize this back in high school? I could have had so much fun. Jeez, never mind.
You had more fun than you deserved in high school.
I was on margin with how much fun I was having with you. To the point where I'm like, I owe a lot. Well, hey, folks, welcome back to BvG. It's going to be a very fun episode. We're doing something that is topical, it's one of the biggest versus matches out there, so much so that they're making a goddamn movie about it. Kong versus Godzilla. I'm sorry. Godzilla versus Kong. Godzilla goes first.
No, first.
No, it's Godzilla versus Kong. It's Godzilla.
No, not in my book.
Well, you can't read, so I don't know what you're talking about. You can't read. You know what
you can't read.
So Scott and I, we've been talking about like what are some of the big matchups of versus, and we've done a few already. Of course, you know, grizzly bear versus silverback, waffles versus pancakes. This one is I think the only other one I can really think of that might overshadow this one is possibly Goku versus Superman. But
yeah,
and we'll save that for another day. But for now, it's like, no, it's Godzilla versus Kong, East versus West, Lizard versus Monkey. So
yeah, Monkey
return to. Have you seen those memes where it's like return to Monkey?
No.
Oh yeah, it's like abandon humanity, return to Monkey, and it's the idea. Monke. It's the idea of like, man, life sucks. You know what? I'm gonna go back to the forest and dance around like a monkey. Return to Monkey.
Oh jeez. I will say the one thing I do like about this particular matchup is that there's, unlike any of our others, there's in a way documented like evidence of these battles, not this particular one, but past attacks. You know what I mean? Like, this is how many times has Kong gone up against Godzilla in cinematic history now? At least
once.
This will be
just once.
Just the once.
Just once.
No.
I'm pretty sure, because I was doing a podcast with my buddies, and there's Godzilla versus Kong, which is funny enough. Like when you hear that, like when I say Godzilla versus Kong in the Godzilla franchise, you would think like, oh, it's probably the 10th movie, maybe. That's a third movie. It's the third movie. There's Godzilla. Yeah, they do. And get this, it was supposed to be Frankenstein apparently.
That wouldn't be that interesting at all.
Well, I need to verify it. I really do. And I feel bad for not remembering this. I'm sure there's Godzilla fans in the chat who are like, or in the comments being like, wrong. But I heard something about how they had a pretty big plans for it to be Frankenstein's monster, but the rights didn't follow through. And they're like, what can we do instead? King Kong. So that's why in that movie when Godzilla's fighting Kong, Kong has electricity powers. It's because that was written for Frankenstein to have electricity powers. Go figure.
That's weird. I mean, I guess they had to give. I mean, that's weird. There's nothing about that that's like, well, we have a 50-story tall gorilla. What do you want to do with electricity powers?
You shoot electricity.
Shoots electricity. Yeah, that works. Like, isn't that just something that Godzilla does? No, that's a gorilla power for sure.
That's a gorilla power. They can shoot electricity.
I mean, in that, I never mentioned that in the bear versus gorilla episode that the gorilla could have used his lightning powers to destroy the bear, but I wanted to give you that, like, I wanted to be a gentleman and not just destroy it right away.
You are a class act, Scott. I gotta say though, like when it comes to kaijus, like the East like has the West beat. Like there's so many kaiju that spawned just from the Godzilla franchise alone, and that's not even including like, oh gosh, Jet Jaguar, Gamera, and a slew of other monster franchises. A kaiju, it's a Japanese word. It's big giant monsters,
Yeah.
and Godzilla is the king of them all, and will win
That's kind of
against
what
King.
you were to me in high school, was a kaiju.
A kaiju,
You just
thank you.
giant monster.
I can't help it. I'm from Japan. I'm gonna step on you, but I. I'm excited for this matchup, and we'll get to here in a bit. But before we do, Scott, how you doing, man?
Good, good. I appreciate you asking. Everything's been pretty chill over here. Trying to think, no real major highlights. Work's been just kind of steady. Getting a little busier with the restaurants, which is good for all. And Violet's enormous. She's turning into a kaiju. She's doesn't even fit in the house anymore. No, she's not a monster at all. She's the sweetest.
I can't believe it. I am gonna report. Now, I saw like a picture on Instagram of her like near you have a new garden, right?
Yeah. I built some raised garden beds for Lauren and I. So we're starting gardening. Like, we've already got the soil in. We've done some transplanting. We've already got. I mean, we're not to the point of being able to eat them because we only did this in the last week, but like, we're growing tomatoes, we're growing onions, we're growing like sage and basil and carrots and potatoes. Like, we're growing like a lot of stuff. We're planning on growing a lot of stuff out of these boxes. So we're really excited.
That's
so
awesome.
We got that going for us. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. I gotta be real with you. I've seen pictures online of those like box gardens, and I'm like, those look fun. Like, I don't know. It's very Hobbit-like, where it's like you have to return to the earth.
Yeah, it kind of is. Like, I've been wanting to do this. Like, Lauren and I both been wanting to do this for a while now, and we don't only just really just like, okay, springtime is here. If we're gonna do it, we got to do it now, or else we're gonna miss our time frame again and have to wait till next year. So we just like jumped into it as fast as possible. But like in the time we've been thinking about it, I literally have been. That has been my mindset since the beginning of the process of designing or deciding what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it, where we were going to put it. It was like, how would Bilbo put this together? Like, what would he do? Like, I really wanted to build a special little hobbit hole in the side of our our backyard, as you've seen, is literally just like a 75-degree uphill. And I'm like, I wanted to build a hobbit hole in there to store all of our goods.
Right. Absolutely. That way, you have to do it now, Scott.
I want to desperately.
Get to work.
I looked into it, and other than the fact that I would have to rent and learn how to operate like a backhoe, which wouldn't even fit in my backyard, it would be so expensive to build a hobbit hole, like so freaking expensive. And as much as I'd love to do it, I'm like, I'm sad to say it probably won't happen, but I will let everybody know the day I actually start the process. Because even though it's expensive, one day I do still hope to maybe do it, because there's ways around these expenses, but it just means more manual labor and hours. So I'm like, I don't have the time now. Even if I could come up with the smaller resources financially, I'm like, I do not have the time at all.
Well, you know what? It looks really cool with what you're doing. I think growing stuff, like a garden, is like one of the greatest hobbies a person could have, because you're tending to it, growing, building, get to actually like see it, smell it, eat it. Like, I don't know. Tell me a more human thing than that, of like of having the experience of like literally going, I nurtured this vegetable, I harvested it, and now it's sustaining me. Like, it's a circle of life.
I mean, it kind of is. I'm like, it's like having a kid, but in a much shorter process, and not eating it.
Right, absolutely. not yet.
Not yet. But like, yeah, it's extremely like, it's something that you can do where you can literally see your progress. Like, you can measure it. It's been nice. Like I said, we've only been going for like, it's only week 2. We have nothing but some green leaves to show for it, really. But we kind of started the growing process in-house in the sunroom, just with these tiny little potted plants. and now like I said, we've transplanted them into the boxes. So it's nice to just see a little green. It's been good. That's really the biggest thing we've been up to. And Violet was like out there helping me build the boxes after we got all the lumber together. And she's like, I was like using my nail gun to put stuff together, and she was kind of like, oh, what is this? She's
What
like,
is it?
there's a
Power,
moment,
my
like,
dear daughter.
yeah,
Power.
yeah, yeah. She's like, there's a moment where she's just coming over and like she's just squatting down next to me, like, what are you doing, Dad? What's that noise? Bah! Like when like the nail goes in. It's like,
was she cry at all, or was she like, oh,
no, no, she was fine. She, oddly enough, of all the loud sounds in the world, she doesn't cry at like any, but she gets so upset when I grind coffee beans.
really?
Yeah, she cries every time I start to make coffee and I'm actually grinding up some beans instead of like bringing or using the pre-ground stuff, which I occasionally do just to be quieter in the mornings. But like when
See,
she's awake, sometimes I'll grind the beans, and every time I do, she just starts crying because she doesn't like that I'm near that noise. I suppose I don't totally get it, but in her mind, it's terrifying.
see, as a parent, that's when you're like, sorry, kid, deal with it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm like, I mean, Papa needs his morning coffee.
My coffee, my coffee. All right. Well, honest for me, I'm fine. Nothing going on really. Just staying busy with work,
Yeah.
and I'm enjoying the arrival of spring with
Yes.
with like, and it's also nice to see the light at the end of the tunnel for COVID, where it's remarkable that we've been doing this for almost a year now, and I look forward to seeing normalcy return. And it's been a trial for a lot of folks. I know a lot of folks. It's been very difficult, and I'm glad that we're almost past the finish line. Like, there it is. Keep going, guys. We're almost there. So
Yeah.
here's hoping for, like, I mean, a normal summer, normal Halloween, normal Thanksgiving, a Christmas in 2021. Like, just
Very nice.
I would like that a lot. Where it's like we don't have to worry about it. We all are vaccinated, or the herd immunity kicked in, or something. And
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to seeing normalcy return. So, fingers crossed. So, should we jump into the fight and just go for it?
Yeah, let's step into the ring here. Kong versus Godzilla, not the other way around.
No, it's God. What is a king to a god? That's how I begin this discussion. What is
Oh,
a king
God.
to a god? Says the god to the king,
Gosh.
to the end, to the descending boot. I honestly, I'm a fan of Godzilla. I love Godzilla, but when it comes to me as a fan of things, it's more infatuation and passion versus the true ultra nerds who know it backwards and forward. In that regard, I'm still a student. I'm still learning a lot, but I do know more about Godzilla than like the average person. And I mean, I love Big G. I really do. There's something about Godzilla King of Monsters in 2019 that really stirred up my, like, gosh, like, oh my God, he looks so cool. And actually captured like OG Godzilla, but made him look cool. And he's fighting Ghidorah, Rodan, and he looks great in Atomic Breath. And this seems more faithful to the series, to the previous films, because Godzilla 2014 was like, not as good, not at all. But this one's like, go ahead.
Yeah. I honestly, I never even watched it, but I was like, I remember watching. I saw some of it, and honestly, like, I heard enough things. I was like, yeah, it's not that great. That I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I can skip it. But I did see a little bit, and I was really just disappointed in the fact that they didn't use any notable monsters as bad guys. Like, they
Right.
used something like made up, and I was like, well, that's not what you want. Like, you've missed the market. Like, people want to see Mothra or some of the other ones that I can't name.
Ghidorah,
Ghidorah,
Rodan.
okay, yeah.
It's fine. It's fine in the sense that these Hollywood producers, because you have to realize that America is weird when it comes to adaptations from like Japan, and American producers get all weird where they're like, the monster that Godzilla is fighting is a Muto, because they're gonna go like that's a bit more palatable for general audiences compared to like blasting them with Mothra, and because the other monsters from Godzilla are a bit more homely. But to the credit of King of Monsters, they actually made the monsters look really intimidating and cool. Where it's like, oh, it's faithful to the OG series, but like, that's a really cool Mothra. That's a really cool Ghidorah. It actually looks scary. I mean, like, Ghidorah, when you look back at it, it's hammed up. It's a three-headed dragon. It shoots like electricity and going,
Yeah.
flying around strings. Like, that's cheesy compared to like the Muto monster is a bit more contemporary with like Cloverfield monster.
And literally, that's what I was thinking. I was like, it reminded me of the Cloverfield monster a lot.
Right. Oh, by the way, remind me to tell you a King Kong joke when we get to your segment. So let me go ahead and let me lay out my. You'll laugh. You'll laugh at it, actually.
All right.
So I guess to lay out my presentation for Godzilla as a contender, he is the OG kaiju. I mean, by that I mean I know that there are other kaijus who existed before him, but when it comes to in pop culture, like, hey, what's a big giant monster? It's like Godzilla comes first to mind. Godzilla. And Godzilla came from a very special place as a creature, as a film. Godzilla 1954, that's the first movie, and it's black and white, and it is about Godzilla essentially represents the the atomic bomb, the atomic fallout that the Japanese had to face during World War II. And it's a very difficult topic for the Japanese, because no other people have ever had to face an atomic attack before, ever. So that's something very personal to them. And Godzilla represents that, where it's like a force of nature in a way that's beyond human control. Like, it's just too great. It's too powerful. What do we do? And it just, here it comes slowly at us. And all we can do is run. And that comes from a very real place. Now, to be fair, as the series goes on, it gets a lot cheesier, where it's like a bunch of space aliens shooting lasers at a lizard who's flying along his tail or whatever. Like, it becomes a lot more childlike and goofy, and I'm fine with that. Though it also gets a lot more serious later on. It's weird. You'll discover that the Godzilla franchise has it swings back and forth with the tone of the films, where it's like, it's Godzilla and his little boy Manila.
Godzuki?
No, actually, yes and no. Godzilla has a couple of kids. He's got
I didn't know that.
There's Godzilla from the Hanna-Barbera, and then there's Manila, I believe, from Son of Godzilla, who looks really weird. And he comes back later on in one of the worst Godzilla films, and Manila can shrink himself down, and he does like this, like a down Goofy when he talks to the kids. Like,
what?
Because at a certain point where Godzilla becomes more of like a kid franchise. So.
Oh, right. Hence the Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Right. So to bring it all back in, Godzilla himself, I'd say in the most neutral way possible, is a force of nature, massive, big tail to swing around, smack things, sharp claws and teeth, atomic breath, huge spikes on his back. And something that he does so well is that he can tank stuff so hard. Like, Godzilla is like a bit like a Wolverine in that way, where Wolverine himself as a superhero, or even the animal itself, they're scrappers. They're small, but like, you better believe that they're coming right at you right afterwards. Like, you can smack them out for a second, but they're gonna get right back on their feet, and they're gonna be that much angrier. Like, if there's anybody who I can think can actually stand a chance against like the Hulk when it comes to anger, it's Wolverine. And Godzilla feels the same way for kaijus, where it's like, Ghidorah is bigger, and Godzilla faces stronger opponents or just deadlier. But Godzilla's like, I can take the hit, and I'm getting right back up. I'm coming right at you. So that's my presentation. And I guess like I'll bring up modern Godzilla here in a bit for like actual power scale when we get to the fight stuff. But like, Godzilla's he's a strong contender. I think it's not just hyperbole. He's a very tough old lizard.
Yeah. All right, I like those points. Like, it's Godzilla he's formidable by like the most like simplistic version of that word. I'm like, the guy's got a lot, and it's gonna be a tough fight. King Kong, however, I mean, a lot of your arguments outside of course, like the particular power scale and range, Godzilla and King Kong differ in that way, but we'll get to that later. Like, I mean, you're talking about now, granted, my Japanese is nil, and I only know the word kaiju because you just said it. But in my mind, kaiju is like, it's a Japanese word for a large monster, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you called Godzilla the OG, and in Japan, certainly so, but not in time. I mean, Godzilla, the first Godzilla movie was in the
1954. 54.
No, I said Godzilla. I'm sorry. I meant Kong. I meant King Kong.
Kong came out in 1930, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I mean, while not Japanese, that I can attest to for sure, you know, he was there. He was there first.
1933. You're right, by the way. Yeah, King
Yeah.
Kong's the. Oh, by the way, that joke I was going to tell you. There's a
Oh.
cartoon show I was watching where this little girl like ran in from school and she's like, Dad, we watched an old movie in class today. It's called King Kong. Jack Black was in it. And I laughed. I'm like, oh, God.
That is an old wow.
Yeah, Jack Black
Jeez.
was in it. It's like,
Jack Black.
oh, Lord. I'm like, I feel old. I guess we'll get to that here later, too, because I'm curious what you think about that. But because King Kong has 3 different versions. There's the OG 33 King Kong,
Yeah.
followed by 2005 King, or technically 4 versions. Then there's Godzilla versus Kong, the OG matchup, followed
Yep.
by 2005. No, there's even another one in the 80s. I'm sure there's multiple versions of Kong because I think Kong's
honestly,
public domain.
the Kong genre, his whole series of stuff. I'm like, there's plenty of them, and there's plenty to go off of, and you literally see Kong grow in every movie.
Yeah, he's
Like
bigger.
he literally gets bigger, and I'll get to this later. I love the explanation specific for this version of King Kong, which is the same version for Kong Skull Island.
Mhm.
Like, what I want to say it now, but I still want to save it. The reason for the height change is it's so simple, but it's like, you know what? Okay, I'm down with that. I like it because I think in Godzilla versus Kong, this movie coming up, I think we're going to get a lot of cool backstory in history because they allude to the trailers of like, oh, it's a battle that's been going on for the longest time. I'm like, okay, that'll be cool. I love history. I love fake history in these
lore
monster
building,
movies.
the world
lore. I
building.
love the lore. It's great. So King Kong, in my mind, truly one of the, like, I would say more so the OG of the kaiju, while not that I know of Japanese. And
That's
we
fair.
see this gorilla get bigger and bigger through time to fight different monsters. And it's like, it doesn't make sense, but it's still, it's a monster movie and it doesn't really have to. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that's difficult to argue is that I will go ahead and say this myself. We saw Godzilla go down to, like, humans beat. I keep saying Godzilla. I'm so sorry. We saw King Kong get beat down by some biplanes in 1933 and some machine guns. I'm like,
And,
it was
and a good dose of gravity.
and a good dose of gravity and a lot of heartache. It was
Yeah,
beautiful.
homeboy got semped hard. Yeah, King
And
Kong
I'm
was
like,
down bad.
it doesn't seem like King Kong could in this way. Like, he already doesn't feel like he can take a hit. I'm like, well, maybe not. Like, he can do a lot of damage until you start shooting him with bullets. But the thing is, I'm like, he still does. The thing I think that really sets him apart and will serve him very well is King Kong's speed. I think his ability to traverse quickly and do damage quickly, I think in this upcoming movie, as well as prior movies, even ones that I haven't seen, probably served him well. I think the reason he made it as far as he did in the movies we've seen was because he was faster than what he was dealing with until he got stuck somewhere. You saw in the Peter Jackson adaptation of King Kong, he beat up that Tyrannosaurus Rex looking thing. He beat up 2 of them, I think. And he took some serious damage there, and he kept coming back, and he defeated, I think he fought 2 of them at the same time.
3.
So I'm like, was it 3?
It was 3. I remember
there you go.
when the second one popped up, I'm like, oh, that's pretty crazy. And the third one showed him like, Peter Jackson, you son of a b. Like,
Right. Like,
crazy, bro.
He obviously took a lot of damage. He got bit, he got gnashed, he got ripped up a lot, but he still came back. He won. He saved the busty blonde beauty that he was aiming to show off for. So I think while he may eventually
That's Godzilla's greatest strength. They don't give a damn about some pretty girl in a skirt. He's if anything, he'll probably kill her. Godzilla doesn't care. He does
Well,
not
I think
care.
that makes him more of a. I think that makes him more of a bad guy than a good guy.
How dare you?
He doesn't care about anyone.
How dare you? He's a force of
No,
nature.
but
Actually, funny
I
enough,
think. Yeah, go ahead.
well, I mean, like, okay, so, you know, maybe it was just timing that I saw this today. There was a video of Stan Lee where he was saying, like, I get asked a lot, who would win a fight, the Hulk or the Thing? And he's like, I'll tell you who wins, the writers, whatever they want. He's like, it's what the writers want. And he's like, I'm sick of these bozos asking me, because he's like, if I want Spider-Man to beat the Thing, he'll beat the Thing. If I want the Thing to beat Spider-Man, he'll beat Spider-Man. And I'm like, okay, I get you, bro. I get you. That being said, there are power scales. There are ways to measure it. Now, I understand the significance of writing force, where like it happens a lot in shows where, like Powerpuff Girls, for example, where it's like, no, you should have defeated this villain pretty easily. Like, that's not consistent with your powers. But for writing and for fun, for entertainment, I see why it happened this way. I see the same thing with Godzilla at times. Kong to me is like, okay, he's an ape, and apes are in the family tree of humans. And I know he's a massive ape, but that's a lot more relatable to us as humans. Like, he can think. He look into his face. You can see emotions, and I can feel that that Kong's a lot more sympathetic towards humans and can actually build a connection, while Godzilla does not care. And that's my favorite version of Godzilla, is the one where he's completely neutral. Just straight up neutral. Not chaotic evil, not lawful good, just straight up neutral. He doesn't care about humans. He doesn't care about particular people or monsters, except when you get in his face. And that's when he's like, don't mess with me. So, and that can be a strength, that can be a weakness. Kong's actually having a bit of a... he's not evil, he's good, but he's like neutral good, I'd say, where it's like, if you can get him on your side, good. Like what do you call
it, an anti-hero kind of thing?
I call him a hero. I would call Kong a hero.
No, okay.
I would. I think anti-hero would be more it's actually appropriate for probably Godzilla, funny enough, but because Kong and Skull Island, when those skull crawlers were coming at them, like the humans, it's like, oh, thank God King Kong's here to help protect us. Like, Kong's gonna smash these things.
Real quick, I don't want to stick with your train of thought, but it's something I just want to say for our listeners. I already apologize for how many times Carver and I have already accidentally said Godzilla when we met King Kong, and the other way around, because we've both done it at least twice now. I'm quite certain we've both done it a few times. So just try and roll with us. I'm typically talking about King Kong. Carver is going to be typically talking about Godzilla, and just sift through the madness. We'll all get there in the end.
We will. I guess to bring it back in for Kong, if we're talking about his strengths, he's smart. He is smart. This is where, like, I know we joke about gorillas being smarter than bears in a fight, but like, they are smart. They are smarter than bears.
Kong, well, I also think that King Kong's intelligence is exaggerated for the movies.
Well, yeah, he's a lot smarter. Like, it's almost like a human who can't talk.
Yeah, I think that's fair, especially based off of what some of this trailer for this newest version is alluding to. Like, he's got some sort of very emotional connection to some like little girl.
Yes,
and I'm like, okay, well, that's a very intelligent primate.
He comes across as a strong, emotional kid who's mute. Like, he's very childlike in a lot of ways, where he's like, he feels a lot. He's smart enough to realize certain things, but he also, I think, gets played pretty easily. And when he ever gets played, he gets hurt. And he's like, how could you? He's too trusting sometimes. And because
so Godzilla's gonna be like, no, we're cool, man.
Hey, Trey Martin, bro. Yeah, his tail stabs him. So for Godzilla, though, okay, we're talking about size differences and powers. So Kong has gotten larger. I personally believe that Godzilla has gotten smaller. Kong has his big ape arms. He's very strong. He's agile. He's smart.
Yeah.
I think he can strategize better than Godzilla. Godzilla's not completely
Yeah.
stupid, but Godzilla's
No,
so used to
no.
tanking stuff where Kong's like, I'm gonna outsmart this guy. I'm gonna jump around and trick him.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think since you're kind of talking on the side of King Kong right
Right?
now,
It's bizarre.
yeah, no, I'll offer the same up for Godzilla. The thing is, I'm like, I think you're right. Godzilla is a bit of a tank. He is a neutral, but his level of possible destruction is higher because he doesn't have to. It's almost like he doesn't have to think about how he's gonna do something. He just starts doing it.
Mhm.
Like I'd say the most he thinks about is which power out of my mouth am I about to do, or which way am I going to swing my giant tail that just topples buildings like I'm like rolling through sand castles. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
his
Godzilla's
power.
very. It's more instincts for him because like there is
Yeah,
that in Godzilla 2014 there was a part where a Muto was flying at him, and he waited for it and then he smacked it with his tail and impaled it. So there is some strategizing that goes on in Godzilla's head.
right.
He's not
I don't,
completely dense. He's not stupid.
yeah,
He's just not as
he's
sharp.
yeah. I don't. Well, it's like he doesn't. He's not making like a plan for say. Like I feel like King Kong might be thinking like maybe 2 steps ahead if he can. Like, okay, I'll grab this and then I'll run over here and then I'll hit him in the back. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. Like he might be making at least like a few maneuvers. Godzilla, I feel like, is reactionary. Like he sees what's
Yes.
coming. He
Yes.
sees what's coming, and he does his best to adjust to what he's about to take. And that's like I feel like that's where he is. But he, like you said, he can take the hit and then like throw it down and reverse it, kind of thing, Missy Elliott style. And like then him like, oh, you hit me in the face with a giant sign. Well, here's atomic breath.
Yeah,
You know?
and that's Godzilla. He falls back more on his natural abilities. He's been doing this according to this universe for hundreds of millions of years. Like
Right.
Godzilla, or tens of millions. Godzilla's been around for a while in this one, so
Yeah.
he's used to just tanking it. He's not Godzilla is street smart. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, oh, I'm gonna get into a fight. I've fought 1,000 monsters last year or whatever. I know what I gotta do.
Right.
Versus Kong, who's like puts his glasses on.
He fights monsters like porn stars do pornos. Like
Right,
it's like
right.
1,000
Which
a month.
Godzilla's done those too.
Yeah.
Gotta pay for Manila's college fund, but like Godzilla, like to me, I think this is the way I can see the fight like unfolding, where Godzilla's got his bag of like usuals, where I'll use my tail, I'll use my breath, I'll smack
Yeah.
him with my body, and then Kong's gonna probably test because this Kong will punch and be like, okay, I got some power here, but oh my god, he's got atomic breath. Okay, can't let that hit me. I need to figure. Kong will see stuff and be quick to like, okay, what can I do to outsmart this? Versus
Yeah.
Godzilla, who will be like, give me a second here. All right, he's not falling for my atomic breath. What can I do next?
Yeah.
Tail. We'll do the tail.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do the Yeah, I think, one thing that might also play out is that King Kong. Now, obviously, I'm sure Godzilla has obvious memory in that
We're
he
being
knows
so nice to each other, by the way. We're like,
I know,
I'm
we
sure
really
King
are.
Kong
Well,
was. Where was this?
let me tell you why Kong's smarter. Okay. Let me I'll rephrase it to where it sounds like I'm attacking you, but I'm kind of not.
Bring it.
Bring it in. I think King Kong, we're talking about his intelligence. I think the thing that will serve King Kong well is that I think King Kong would have like what I'm going to call fight memory, in the sense of, you kind of said it, where he's going to know, he might remember, he'll probably be able to remember something that Godzilla does, and then so that way he can avoid it next time. I don't think Godzilla would have that per se. Like I feel like you could come at Godzilla with the same maneuver enough times that it would still probably be pretty effective almost every time. Less so, I think, because Godzilla's not an idiot. But I think you know where I'm getting here. I think
he's headstrong.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good way. I think that's good. I think that's true. I think he is probably headstrong to where he's like, well, I can take it. I'm like, well, yeah, you can take it, but time will wear you down.
That's the thing is like if Godzilla gets incapacitated by like because I think okay, Kong will be one of the most difficult opponents because he has ape strength. He's very strong, and I think he'll okay. And I think Kong. I mean Kong. Yeah, he'll be the smartest opponent that Godzilla's ever faced. Because Godzilla, he's typically fighting with big monsters who are kind of instinctual like him. Yeah. Where Godzilla's like, "Ow!" Like you punch me, I'll punch you back. Or "Ow!" Like instincts kicking in, go underwater and blast him with lasers. Okay. Like Godzilla's got his natural instincts and his fight prowess that has worked before. And continues to do the job for the last 10 or so million years. So Kong might like in the trailer I saw there's a part where Kong had like a weapon, like an axe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's different. I mean, that's gonna you want to hear the crazy part, Scott? I know what the axe is made of. You want to guess what it is?
I actually know. I'm fairly certain to know it is one of these like the sticky, outy, scaly things of Godzilla's tail, right?
Yeah, I think it's from
like
one
his
of
back
his
ridge line.
I think it's from one of his ancestors that one of the Kong ancestors made an axe out of it to soak the atomic breath.
Okay. I was thinking, okay. That's interesting. I was thinking, not that I knew it would have that effect, but I was actually thinking he just ripped one off of Godzilla during a battle and like somehow formed it at that moment.
No,
it doesn't really matter. Obviously, it is that, but I wasn't sure if it was an old one or I thought it would be like a contrived battle axe like put together on the spot.
Right, give me some rope, damn it. He
give me a second, Gotti.
I think this is the way I think the movie's gonna go, where Kong will rumble with Godzilla, get his butt kicked. They'll take him to Monster Island, which is really cool to think about, and hopefully we'll see some other monsters from the franchise there. Kong will
that'd be cool.
Dig up the past, and they'll be like Kong and Godzilla, the last survivors of a war between species for king of the world, and then Kong will pull out his dresser and see this old axe that he's like, oh, my great granddad used this to beat up on the Godzillas, and you know what? It's mine. Let's go get them. That's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, that's another testament to the intelligence of King Kong. Really he recognizes a useful weapon. He's like, you know what this'll do? This is going to absorb all of his powers or something along those lines.
You know what this is going to do? The job.
The job, yeah. I thought that was really unique because, I mean, it goes back to the original bear versus gorilla argument that a gorilla could put together, well, maybe not put, a regular gorilla maybe not put together, but a gorilla is going to and can use a weapon because he's got them thumbs.
Yep. I mean, I guess we'll see what happens, because this is just a weird place our conversation has taken us, because I feel like we're trying to be practical and fair, and
which probably doesn't serve us well for being a debate.
Right. Yeah, we're actually not fighting. This is actual discussion. I personally think if it is a no holds bar fight, Godzilla is going to win, and I'm talking if Godzilla's coming right out of the gate full strength, he's gonna obliterate Kong. Atomic breath is crazy deadly now, and that's why Kong needed to level the playing field and get that axe to deflect it or absorb it or whatever. So with the axe in play against Godzilla, I look forward to seeing that fight in the big screen. I think Kong actually could win it, because that's something that Godzilla will have to adapt to very quickly, because not only is it a weapon, it's a weapon that negates atomic breath. That's a problem. So
exactly.
I don't know.
It'll
might win this.
It'll be really well, I will say this much in my little bit of research that I did. Kong has the history. In the first Godzilla versus Kong won.
Yeah, he did. I think they both fell into the water, and Kong emerged like, woof, and then Godzilla's like, I'm going to die. Bye.
Was that what it was? I couldn't remember. I read a synopsis of it because I couldn't see it, unfortunately. And it just said that, as I recall, it just said that Godzilla went in, like, just fell into the water and just didn't emerge. But I mean, like, it's Godzilla. He can swim. Yeah, so I'm like, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. But in that moment, in that movie, Kong won. So he's got the history of victory under his hairy belt.
All I want most of all in Kong versus Godzilla is a moment where, and if they do this, I will stand out. Say the theater, I won't be there. I will stand up in my living room and I will applaud it. If Kong takes a tree and shoves it down Godzilla's throat, because that's what happened in the old one, where Kong grabbed a tree, uprooted it, and shoved it down Godzilla's throat as Godzilla.
Oh, that's hilarious.
If they do that, I will laugh. I'll be like, wow, these guys, true to form,
Did their
guys.
homework.
Did
They
their
really
homework.
did their homework.
So
that's awesome.
Fingers crossed.
That would be that would be really cool. Okay, so
final verdicts here.
I mean, final verdicts is like, all I can say is I'm interested because you said it that Stan Lee said it. In any circumstance, the writers win.
Yes. Yeah.
We can't really know who is gonna win because no matter what we feel would be the realistic happening, the writers are gonna do what they want to do. And maybe we're right. Maybe we happen to guess right, but for the wrong reasons, or maybe we get it wrong because the writers decided they wanted to go a different way. Maybe if they did their homework, they're like, you know what? In 1954 or whatever year it was that Kong faced off against Godzilla, Kong won. Let's give Godzilla this one. You know what I mean? I'm like, and there might be no real reason other than they decided I think he could use a victory.
I think it almost feels like a WWE match where it's like it's fake wrestling. And you do it for the fan service.
Fake?
What? Godzilla? Whoa, excuse me. I'm sorry, it's wrestling. No, but it does feel like, it's all fictional made up stuff. And I'm glad that it goes to show that Godzilla was way overpowered and would win if it was a traditional fight without the leveling of the playing field for Kong. But I think what's going to happen in the movie is, of course, there'll be a third monster, Batty McBatterton, that Kong and Godzilla will team up to fight, or it'll be a battle royale. And in the process, I don't know if Godzilla would team up with Kong because they don't like each other, versus like Mothra, who does like Godzilla, and vice versa. But I can see Kong winning it. I think I wouldn't be surprised for a second if Godzilla gets neutralized and freezes, or something incapacitates him but doesn't kill him, and it's like Kong's a new king of the monsters for now, and that's how the movie ends.
Right. Yeah. I kind of, to say want is not the right word, but I will kind of expect that that King Kong will probably win in this movie. I think in my logic, his obvious weapon that he's going to get, according to the trailer, his speed and agility, his higher level of intelligence. I think while he doesn't have these supernatural powers, I think that he will probably end up taking it. But I will also say this, in the trailers that I've watched for this coming movie, which has truly, I don't watch trailers for movies because they typically spoil the movie. Very few trailers. If there's a movie I'm interested in, I will not watch any trailers for it because I usually, not to toot my own horn, but I usually end up deciphering too much out of the trailer to where I'm like, oh crap, well now I kind of know what's happening in the movie, and that's less exciting. I'll still watch it, but it's less exciting. But I've decided to go ahead and watch this because I wanted to talk about it and actually have some knowledge. But it has really it's done its job in just exciting me about the movie. Like, I really am excited to see it. And I'm going to go back and watch Godzilla King of Monsters before I do it. I may even go ahead and allow myself to watch Kong Skull Island again, just to kind of get used to this version of King Kong and this version of Godzilla. Because I'm not going to lie, the last Godzilla movie I watched was the 90s Godzilla, where he didn't look anything like Godzilla.
I wouldn't even call that Godzilla. That is a bastardization, a Western bastardization. But actually, in the Godzilla Japanese lore, that's not Godzilla. It's something called Zilla. And there's actually a scene where Godzilla kills that creature.
Really?
Yeah. There's a movie called Final Wars in 2000, and a bunch of monsters are being controlled by aliens to destroy capitals like across the world. Godzilla shows up and goes from city to city like a slasher villain, just killing these monsters. He goes to Sydney, Australia, and Zilla shows up and is teleported from an alien ship into the city, and Godzilla just walks in and blows up Zilla in like 10 seconds, and it's like, okay, bye.
Oh, jeez, that's funny that they did that. I like that. I appreciate it for sure.
It's cathartic.
Yeah, it probably was. It really was. Because that movie, like, I remember when I watched it, I was like, oh, wow, this was good. But I'm like, the more I thought back about it more with this upcoming movie, I'm like, no, it really wasn't that good. The best, I think the thing I remember most about that movie is the Taco Bell commercials from that movie.
Right.
Here, lizard.
Yeah, right. that Chihuahua, man. I miss 1990s Taco Bell. That was some good aesthetic.
It really was.
Do we want to wrap things up because we're hitting that 1 hour point?
Yeah. Before we do, I want to just briefly talk about like anybody listening to this may already know, but I don't know if you know, Carver, but I said I alluded to the reason that Kong is bigger in this one. I don't know if you looked into it, but I was interested. I was like, why? How are they going to explain the extreme height difference from Kong Skull Island to Godzilla versus King Kong? In Kong Skull Island, the simple and beautiful truth that they've come up with is that he's an adolescent. He wasn't full grown yet.
Right. Give him 20 more years. Give the creature that's millions of years old a bit. Yeah, that's the thing that confuses me. I'm like, what's a gorilla lifespan? How fast do they grow? Because Godzilla's millions of years old, and he's still getting larger. But Kong is like, he must have hit a teenage growth spurt where he's getting older, he's getting larger. He'll be 500 feet tall in the next 10 years, and it's like, wow, okay. So it's a bit weird, but whatever. I guess
it's a little goofy, but I'm like, you know what? It's all I need.
Right.
It's just give me an explanation. Like, don't let me just see this much taller monster and not have a reason. Just tell me he was a baby then. Now he's an adult. Okay, fine. That's fine. I'll take it.
Yeah, you know, at least it'll be a good fight. It'll be a good fight.
Yeah, it makes for at least, like I said, it's like they gave you a reason, whether you like it or not. It's your call. I'm contented. At least there is a reason, and I'm just excited to see what will, like you said, will be a very, very fun movie and epic battle. So
absolutely, dude. It's so funny how much more peaceful we were about this.
I feel like we're letting people down because we weren't that aggressive. We haven't been super aggressive. I don't remember the last one we were that aggressive at each other about.
We're like, yeah,
like we've been
waffles and pancakes. We're like holding our knives to our throats or to each other's throats.
That's right. That was a good. Yeah, we were pretty we were pretty aggressive on that one. That's fair.
Okay. Cool. Well, Scott, I hope we'll see how this goes with the fight in the actual film. And we'll keep everybody updated on Twitter, like how it plays out. But yeah, I guess that's it for this episode.
Yeah. Great hanging with you guys. Thanks for listening in, as always.
And we will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.